So insurance obviously has received a lot of attention over the past week or so. And as both Todd and Hugh rightly pointed out, the law has been available to corporations to deal with what we're going to hear about in a moment for at least 10 plus years. So Section 61 of the regulation sets out all of the requirements of the corporation in terms of what they must place insurance on. One of the changes that has occurred is Section 61 sub 1 sub K, whereby the corporation's insurance no longer needs to cover damages in a unit of an owner or occupant where the loss was intentionally caused by an owner or an occupant in that unit. So a very simple example, if two renters have a fight in that unit and they start smashing doors, walls, and start breaking appliances or other things that normally or typically would be the responsibility of the corporation's insurance to fix, that would be the responsibility of the individual unit owner. So that's a significant change, and I would encourage you to obviously speak to your insurance broker to make sure that that coverage has been removed from your standard policy. As also indicated, Todd raised this earlier, every residential condominium unit will now be required to create a standard insurable unit description, and that's under Section 61.1 of the regulation. And the description must include the floor, wall, ceiling coverings, electrical lines, and there's a whole list, and you'll see that in your PowerPoint presentation. Obviously, the purpose of this is to determine what exactly the insurance will cover in the event of a loss. So once the condominium corporation has identified the standard insurable unit, if a fire occurs in that unit and the condominium corporation's insurance is required and called upon to fix that unit, the insurance provider will then look to the standard insurable unit description to rebuild that unit in accordance with that description. So if the description says arborite countertops, oak cabinetry, and laminate flooring, even though in the fire you had granite countertops and you had hickory cabinetry and all different upgrades, all of that won't matter to the insurer because obviously the insurable unit will be as per the description. Now, some will say, well, let's make our standard insurable unit description to the max. Let's cover and make it the best unit possible in the event of a loss. Can you do that? I guess you could, but there's going to be a cost to that to your insurance, obviously, because you're going to make it better than it probably was. Now, I appreciate for newer buildings, this is going to be a simpler process than the older buildings to try to go back in time as to what is a standard unit description. If there are different types of units, the corporation can create multiple standard insurable unit descriptions for different classes. So if it's a one-bedroom condo unit, it could have a particular description versus a two-bedroom condo unit. And if there are more than two or more classes of residential units, the corporation is required to identify the description for each unit. This is a task that, in our respectful opinion, is well beyond the capability of lawyers, even though lawyers are capable of doing everything. So I'm happy to do it, but there are probably even better people out there to do it. I would hire someone. There are a number of people who, as a result of the first attempt to put this out, started to look at doing this kind of work. And I would strongly encourage the board not to undertake this project themselves. It's a lot of work, and I would encourage you to hire someone to help you with that process. Now, in terms of adopting the standard resolution, there are 3 ways of doing it, and the first way is the corporation may adopt or amend the description by special resolution. In other words, at least 75% of the owners and unit factors say, we agree with that description, we support it, we vote for it, and there you go, and you have complied, and that would be obviously the best way to go. If you cannot get the special resolution, you could also do it by ordinary resolution or by board resolution, provided the board takes the description to the next general meeting to have it ratified by the owners by ordinary resolution. What I'm not certain, and I'd like some input later on if we have the chance, what happens if it's not approved by ordinary resolution? And it's not really clear, in my opinion, in the regulations. The corporation must provide owners notice of the description and then ultimately register that at land titles, including when future amendments are made. So the standard description of the unit will be a public document filed ultimately at land titles and will be available to everyone to see. And the requirements under land titles are set out in section 61.2 sub 5 of the regulations. So this is obviously a major undertaking for the corporation and the board to do with respect to the creation of the description of their unit. The next issue, which is a great improvement, but not crystal clear on some aspect, and Todd and I were having a discussion at the break on this point, corporations may now recover the amount of a deductible from an owner, as if the insurance of the corporation is called upon. And the wording is that the owner is absolutely liable, provided that the damage originates in or from an owner's unit or exclusive possession area. The corporation does not have to prove negligence. So if, for example, you are in your unit and you want a nice hot bath tonight, and tonight is a great night to have a hot bath, and you turn on the water and you want to fill the tub, all of a sudden, by the time you're doing that, your phone rings. And you say, oh, let me go grab the phone. And it's someone you haven't spoken to in a while, and you sit down and you're having a half-hour conversation in the living room, but you forgot about the tub. And the water starts overflowing, and it's damaged your unit and the 3 units below you. That's all they have to prove. The water originated from your unit. They don't have to prove you were negligent. They don't have to prove that you fell asleep. They don't have to prove anything. As long as it originated from your unit, you're exposed to absolute liability. And that means that you, the owner, will reimburse the corporation for that deductible without any need of the corporation proving negligence. Now, there are limited defenses to owners. They can say that this was a construction defect or an act or admission to as a result of the corporation doing something. Now, in the tub example, obviously, none of that would apply. The deductible recovery is not allowable for damages that originate on the common property. The amount of the deductible that they can go after you, an owner, cannot exceed $50,000. So if the deductible is only $25,000, that's the maximum amount they can go after you for. And if the deductible is greater than $50,000, then the corporation will make up the rest. So if the deductible is $100,000, they can go after an owner for $50,000, and then the corporation will be responsible for the other $50,000. The question that Todd and I had, that we both differed or may not really agreed to or really don't know the answer to, is this. Let's say there is a loss, and the loss to the corporation is $23,000. The deductible's 50. The corporation says, you know what? We're not going to go to our insurance because we don't want another claim. We'll just pay the $23,000. We'll fix it ourselves, and we'll take the $23,000 from our operating funds or issue a special levy, whatever. The regulations say that you can go after the owner for the reimbursement of the deductible. In the example I gave you, there is no deductible that's been paid. What happens? Can you go after the owner? Can you sue the owner? Yes, you can. But then I think if you're going to sue the owner, then I think you may have to prove negligence. Then you're into civil litigation. And I think you're into a whole different arena. Yeah, the regulations are not that clear in that regard. But in any event, the deductible issue is real. It is here now. And the consequences to owners are significant. The other issue, too, that is a significant change is the fidelity bond. The corporation will now be required to carry a fidelity bond, and this protects the corporation from obviously any wrongdoing on the part of the a board member or board members or the property manager. And the fidelity bond must be in an amount which is at least the amount set out in the bylaws, and if silent, the sum of the reserve fund balance and the operating balance at the start of the corporation's current fiscal year. And this must be done in 2020. And the limit coverage must be renewed at least once every 2 years and adjusted accordingly. And I know there is a further CCI update on insurance in March. You'll see that in your materials. You'll need to speak to your insurance provider as well and get more information in terms of getting that fidelity bond in place.